Hi there, folks, and welcome to another episode. If you followed my channel for a little bit here, a couple of videos ago, I did a video on getting this generator, the Generac GP5500, running after it sat for about 2 years. Pulled it off, it runs pretty good. So I decided, let's do a little more work to it. I'm going to show you what the air box looked like in here, because the air box looked a little tough. And I don't know what happened to it. Maybe you guys have had this happen. I'm going to show you what it looks like and give me your comments. Now, when I pulled this off originally to access some different things and just look things over and look at the carburetor, I noticed this, you know, it had an air filter in there and stuff, but look at this. That's melted. It's weird. It's melted and bent over. I don't know. It just doesn't look healthy. This is all wiggly woggly, and the air filter should sit right there nice and neat without any issue. So I got on the wonderful Amazon and I picked up a new air box. Believe it or not, they have the complete air box on there for one of these Generacs for, I think it was $38. I was surprised. And it comes with, once I get the screw all the way out here, it comes with a brand new air filter, metal plate, and I mean, it's ready to interchange with what's here. You can see what it should look like, but I'm not sure if heat got to it or what got to it, but let's go ahead and get this swapped out, because I'm going to show you folks today how I intend to use this generator. And I think you'll be surprised at what you can do. Now, I'm not saying you should do this at home, because this can be dangerous. So this is a disclaimer. Don't do this at home. I'm just warning you. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this changed out, and we'll be ready to set this back on the ground and fire it up. Old and busted, new hotness. Gotta love that. Well, now that we got that all done, and I put some new rubber feet on the bottom, and I had to make my own little spacers because one of the rubber feet were missing. Let's go ahead and put this back on the floor and show you my next little step I'm gonna do. Now I'm going to explain to you what I'm about to do here. And like I said, I don't recommend this unless you absolutely know what you're doing and you're a responsible person and take responsibility for your own actions. Otherwise, don't do this. So what I've got here is I've got me some cord, heavy enough gauge cord to handle 30 amps, because that's what that generator is capable of putting out. Here's the twist lock that would plug into the generator. This is a plug that will fit my welder outlet. Guys kind of see where I'm going here? What I'm going to do, instead of plugging all the utensils that I want to have working when the power goes out into the generator directly, I'm going to create my own little power grid, and I'm going to be able to plug in this into the generator and this into my outlet, but not before turning off the main breaker. Because if your power goes out, when you're using these generators at home typically, it's because the power went out. So what do you want to do? You want to power up your own grid. Well, the only way you can do that is by throwing your main on your pole, or the main in your house, or have a switching device of some sort. You better know what you're doing, because you could kill a person out on the pole if you do this wrong. And what you want to do is make sure that you don't have power going backwards under the grid, the actual electrical grid, past your house. So that's why you throw your main breaker. And I'll walk you through this, but like I said, I don't encourage this for anybody. I'm just a redneck that's trying to figure it out as he goes. And we'll get there. Alrighty. I've got my wiring hooked up here. I've basically made a drop cord, a double positive drop cord. Now what you got to be real careful with this, if you're messing around with this stuff, is if you plug this into your outlet, welder outlet, and you haven't killed the power, or the power's, the breaker's not tripped off, this is hot. You put this in your generator that's running, this is hot. This will electrocute and kill you. So, like I said, don't do this at home unless you know absolutely what you're doing. Do not follow me as a guideline. I'm just showing you what I'm doing to give you guys some ideas of what you could possibly do with the aid of an electrician. Make sense? But anyway, I know this cord here is only 12 gauge. It's not heavy enough to handle 30 amps. I'm just going to do a light test on it right now to make sure what I'm wanting to do works. And if it does work, then I will get some wiring. These are both 30 amp plugs. This one's capable of 40, this one's capable of 30. I will get some wiring that will handle the 30 amp plug. And we'll go from there. Cool? We're going to go ahead and plug in this 220 outlet. It's a twist lock, so it goes in, locks in place. So we've got that plugged in, generator not running. Now I have to pretend it's a power outage, right? You have no juice coming into the shop. If I throw this 100 amp breaker here, shop just went dark. There's no juice coming past this breaker from the outside service. Now what I can do when I plug this in, and I'm going to go ahead and turn my light switches off, pretending, don't want to draw any more juice than I have to when I fire up the generator, right? Yeah, it went dark in here, didn't it? Okay, now the panel's off, the plug is in, the generator isn't running yet. Alrighty. Now I haven't started this since the last video I did on it, so it's been a couple, 3 weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the gas on. Boom. Let the carburetor fill up for a minute. We'll put the choke on. Now this thing, when it fires up, it automatically kicks the choke off. So let's give it a yank here. You know what? That on-off switch works well. Dumb me. There you go. One pull after that. Okay, I don't know if you guys can hear the generator very well, but as you can see, my drill press light's on, and everything else is not on, except that my fridge is probably running. And you can see the light going bright dim on that LED. Let's turn the shop lights on and see what happens. Well, there we go. We got shop power. Like the power's not even off. Now you can hear the generator running outside. So we got power. Let's go ahead and I can hear the generator kick down when I put the load on it. Let's put a bigger load on it. My old 5-horse shop vac draws a decent amount of juice. The old fridge is still running. Got a fridge up here in the corner. Boop, right here on the table. That's running right now. Let's kick on some other stuff. Alrighty, that seems to work. Everything in my shop runs just fine, except this is only a 5500 watt generator, and it's only a 30 amp 220 plug-in on that generator, so I cannot run my electric heater that's above my head here. So if I'm in the dead of winter, and I want to make sure that I have enough juice, because right now I could throw the main on my pole, which would kill the whole shop and the house grid, right? And then flip this back on. This is where you got to keep your mind right. You flip this back on, this would send power back through the grid. That's just my home grid, and that's it. And then by proxy, then my refrigerator, my freezers in the house would automatically power it on. And I could run a few light switches here and there. And if I have my cord, this handles 30 amps, I'm pretty sure, I'd have to go look, but I'm pretty sure it run the heater in my house, because all it needs to drive is the fan in the house. And I can keep my house warm in a power outage situation in the wintertime, which is pretty cool. Now what I can't run is this joker above my head, because it's a 5,000 watt draw on the low side. On the high side, it's 7,500 watt. So there's no way that this generator could drive that heater in my shop. But in a power outage situation, I'm not worried about keeping my shop from freezing. There's no pipes or anything in here that's going to get ruined. But my house, I definitely want to have it so that I can keep the heat going. So, and what I did as a precaution then is just threw my 40 amp breaker, turned it off. And I could do the same thing in the house, as I could throw all the big 220 breakers off, so that, you know, your air conditioner, if there was, say you had a storm in the summertime and the power went off in the summertime, you would be able to, you wouldn't be able to run your air conditioner off this size generator. Now, you get a 9,000 watt or a bigger one, yeah, or a whole house generator, sure, you can. You can run all that stuff, keep everything going. But when the power goes out and you're in a, let's just call it pseudo survival mode, I can have the bare essentials running. The cool part is I can park this generator out behind my shop, underneath my overhang, so it's out of the weather, because usually what happens when the power goes out, it's usually inclement weather. You know, you either got a super bad storm coming through with lots of rain and all kinds of stuff, or you got snow, a whole lot of snow and ice. Well, the nice thing is I can keep that generator underneath the overhang back there out of the weather, and it's also away from the house, so I won't have to hear the drone of the generator just running and running and running for hours on end. Without, it'd be away from the house. It'll be nice and peaceful. Now, the bad part is my neighbor has one of those Generac whole house generators, so as soon as the power goes off, I get to listen to his. So I guess I don't have to listen to two of them this way. I just get to listen to one. But so be it. That's the inconveniences you have when the power's out. You just got to live with it, right? Unless you live way out in the country, and then you don't have to listen to anything but your stuff, right? Anyway, like I said, don't do this yourself, folks. I pretend like I know what I'm doing, and obviously it works. I'm going to get a heavier cord now that can handle, this cord here can only handle, it's a 20 amp, so it, or 12 gauge, so the biggest amperage it can handle is, what is that, 20 amps. So I got to go to at least a 10 gauge wire. But now I know how much wire I need to get outside from here. I know what length I need to buy. And it's not cheap. It's not cheap. But, you know, you guys know as well as I do with the derecho. If you guys haven't heard of what a derecho is, it's a high straight line winds, like hurricane style winds that comes through an area. First time I've ever heard of it was last year, 2020, and back in August, I think, end of August, it happened. It took out a swath. I mean, it put power down in a city about 50 miles away from me. It took their power out for over a week in a lot of areas. Here, my power was out for 2 days. And so I took my other generator, hooked it up and ran it, you know, ran the drop cords everywhere, did all that stuff. The cool part about this setup is one cord, one plug-in, pull the cord, you start running, you're done. So that's pretty cool. I like that. Makes things pretty simple. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this generator run out here for about 2 hours. I just want to let it run I'm going to check the oil on it. When I fired it up this time, as you guys saw, no smoke. All the smoke that happened on the previous video was because I put fogging oil all over that top of that cylinder. But that thing fired up and ran. It's running like a champ. So I'm pretty pleased with that. So for my $150 generator, that I bought another let's call it $50. I got $200 wrapped up in this generator, and I also have a second generator. I have a 3,500 watt generator, and I could do the same thing I'm doing here, but I'd have to keep the grids completely separate. I have to throw the mains in both the house and the garage, and I could run that one, plug it into a dryer outlet. Same kind of setup. This is my welder outlet out in the shop. I can plug it into a dryer outlet and do the same thing. So guys, do your research, figure out how you can do this. Now, could you blow out some electrical appliances or some electronics that are sensitive? You bet. But when I have the power outage, I'm not going to be sitting there working on my computer and editing videos because I don't want to blow out anything on my computer. There again, I'm trying to restore some of the minimal conveniences when the power is out, like lights and maybe the heater in the house if I need it. Or we could actually watch TV and stuff like that. So anyway, you guys do with that information what you will. We'll be back here in just a minute. We're going to look at that generator. We're going to go over and see how it's running and see how things are looking. And then I'm going to reverse the grid, basically, go back on the regular grid and not my own little sub-grid I got right here right now. And the process I'm going to do that. Because what I'll do there, again, is I'll go ahead and shut the generator off. And I'll walk you through that too. Shut the generator off. The generator's no longer producing power. We'll see this go dark. Then I'll unplug this outlet. So now I'm completely separate from the generator. Then I can throw my breaker back on and be back on the regular energy company's grid. Anyway, we're just going to let it run. Got these lights on. These lights draw, believe it or not, these lights draw, and I can see a wave. Can you guys see that wave in the screen? I think that's from the generator power, and these LED lights are pretty sensitive. Be curious. That's going to show up on the video, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, LED lights are way more sensitive to power and adjustments, and you can see the cycles. If you do a LED light in slow-mo, you can actually see the flicker. You go bright, dim, bright, dim, bright, dim. It's kind of neat versus an incandescent. Anyway, be back here in about 2 hours. We're going to go ahead and make sure everything's running good still and give you the feedback, and we'll end this video after that. All right, everybody, it's about 2 hours later. The generator's performing flawlessly, doing everything it's supposed to do. The shop's lights have been on. Plus, before I went inside 2 hours ago, I plugged in an electric heater. This electric heater draws 1,500 watts. So between the electric heater, 1,500 watts, these LED lights that I have in here, I got 18 of them that draw a total of just under 600 watts. So 2,100 watts worth of lights or lights and heater, and my little dorm fridge, if you will, over there. It's been basically loaded up to not quite half its capacity for over 2 hours. It's working perfectly. It's doing everything I want it to do. So now I feel relatively confident that in the case of a power outage, I can create my own little power grid here and power up my house and my shop so I can at least walk around and do things in the daylight when it's dark out. Especially in the wintertime when, you know, it's getting dark out here at 5 o'clock in the evening. And there's a lot of darkness to deal with. Anyway, we'll go ahead and turn this off. You'll probably hear this thing. If you can hear through the mic what I can hear, let's see if that thing revs up a little bit. Took 1,500 watts of power off of it. Just took a load off. You hear it go, when I kick it back on, pulls it down a little bit. It's doing everything it needs to do though. I'm completely pleased with the turnout of this. And now I'm gonna go through the shutdown procedure with you. It's nothing special except for I want to run the generator out of gas. I want to run the carburetor dry so that it's not sitting there, because you know how these things are. Generators get used once in a long while, and what's going to happen is it might be a year before I get to use it again, I hope it's a year before I have to use it. I hope it's 10 years before I have to use it. But what I'm going to have to do is put stable in the gas, so the gas will last a long time, be fresh and ready to go. I'll turn the fuel valve off, let the thing run out of fuel in the carburetor, so that way the carburetor is dry. You don't have any fuel going bad in there as well. And we'll go ahead and then, when it runs out of fuel, it'll shut itself off. This place will go dark. I will no longer be producing electricity from the generator, so then it's safe to unplug the drop cord from both ends. And then at that point, I can actually turn my breaker back on and be back on the energies. I'll be back on the grid. Good? All right, let's go out here and let's shut her down. I don't know if you can hear me, but what I did, I turned the lights off. So when this thing runs out of fuel, I don't have a brown out situation. All right, now she's out of fuel. The good news is now there's no more power being produced. We'll go ahead and unplug this cord. The nice thing is this cord doesn't feel warm at all. Even though I was drawing almost half the watts it's capable of, that cord did not get warm, so that means I wasn't overworking it, which is good news, right? Okay, now we're back inside at my panel. And before I turn the breaker back on, I want to unplug this other end of my drop cord. Because if I was to turn the power back on right now, I would throw juice into this wire and I'd have a live male plug out there, and that's very dangerous. So we're going to go ahead and unplug that. And now that everything's disconnected once again, I can throw my breaker back on, throw the main back on, and I have lights. And I'm back on the grid. Now I'm going to turn my 40 amp breaker back on that runs my heater. In case it wants to kick on, now it can, because I have enough juice. Because I'm on the grid, I have enough juice to run it. Very cool. Now that we've ran this machine for around 2 hours, let's just do a little glimpse at the oil and see what it looks like. Looks pretty good. It's still plenty full. Now what I want to do, since this machine had such dirty black oil in it originally, while it's still warm, I'm going to go ahead and change the oil one more time, because I want to be able to put fresh oil in it and store it away with fresh oil. Not to mention it'll help thin out what that black crap that was in there. Thin it out, and then keep some good, fresh, happy oil in there. Well, folks, I hope you found that informative and helpful. I did change the oil in there. It was a little black. I mean, because the stuff that came out of there was like tar originally. But the thing doesn't consume any oil. At least it didn't. It wasn't smoking. When the old oil was in there, it was black, but it was full to the top. So that's a good sign. It started. I can't say first pull. You guys were witness. I left it in there. I could have edited it out. The multiple pulls with the switch turned off. Duh. But turned the switch on, fire right up, took off. We're in business. One of the easiest starting generators for this size generator that I've been around. It's pretty top that compression release it has works excellent. Kicks right over, starts. I did top it off with fresh oil. I also took Stable. I don't know if you guys use Stable. I would recommend it. I put Stable in there, and I put enough in there to treat the amount of gas that's in there. It's a little over 5 gallons. I put right at 3 ounces in there. It says 1 ounce treats 2.5 gallons. I like to put a little extra in there, just a little bit. But now the gas will stay fresh and nice and ready for use. Even a year from now, it'll be good to go. Like I just took it right out of the gas station pump yesterday. So, and I'm always keeping, I got 2 extra 5-gallon cans I keep around just to keep the, in case you need it. Because this thing, I don't know how many hours it'll run. I didn't do all the research on that, but it'll run a decent amount of time on a tank at medium. I think they were talking, I don't know, 16, 18 hours. I don't know. Look it up. If you have one, put it down below in the comments for me. Let everybody else know that's following this video. But I know they will run quite a while on a full tank, and I want to be able to top that tank off 2 more times, because generally, if you don't have power where you live, the closest place you go to get gas may not have power as well. You ain't pumping any gas, so you better have it. Now, the other little secret I have, and I'll share this with you, is because of the boat stuff I do around here, and the fact that I have several boats with 2 strokes in it, these things will run on 2-stroke gas. It doesn't do the spark plugs any favors at all. But I ran on my other generator, I ran for 3 days on 2-stroke gas, because that's all I had around me, and everything else was dead. But I also had about 20 to 25 gallons of 2-stroke gas, a 2-stroke mix fuel, 50-to-1 fuel around here, or on the property. So I used it. The only thing that started to happen after day 3, you start to hear it not hit as often as it was hitting. Should have been hitting, because the spark plug was starting to foul. But that's an easy fix. Pull a spark plug out, put another spark plug in, run 3 more days if you had to. So you use what you got. You run on what you have, right? Anyway, I'm pleased as punch with this generator. I actually took a little spray and wiped up a little bit of it. It's actually going to clean up and look like a pretty decent generator, honestly. It's just been sitting in the shed collecting dust. I might actually even, look out, I might even spring for a cover. Stick a cover over it. Because I'm going to probably leave it more indoors than outdoors, obviously, whether it's in my shop or in another storage area I have, whether it's cold storage or warm or temp controlled storage, I don't know, but if a cover will at least protect it. But yeah, I'm happy. So you folks, I hope you followed what I was saying about how to unplug and plug and hook up and unhook, because that's very important. That sequence is very important. You're dealing with 220 volts of electricity. You're dealing with up to 30 amps. That crap will kill you. Make no mistake about it, it will kill you. Because all it's got to do is run through you, stop your heart, you're done. Game over. Going up to the great beyond. Anyway, so that's why I highly recommend, folks, if you're not really confident in what you're doing, please don't use this video as an instructional video, because that's not what it's meant for in this instance. This is a how I did it video and how I'm going to do it video. Please consult your electrical codes, your electrician, certified electrician person, to make sure if you're going to do this, that you're hooking it up correctly. I pretend like I know what I'm doing. Sometimes I come off with some success. But I just want to put that disclaimer out there, because I don't want anybody getting hurt. Because guess what? You get hurt, I lose subscribers. I don't want to lose subscribers. Just to mention, hey, if you haven't subscribed already, just subscribe. Hit that little red square down there. Hit subscribe, and then hit the little bell. And the bell will let you know when I drop another video. You'll get a little notification, and it says, hey, this goofy guy just made another video. You might want to go watch it. So anyway, I think it's time to call this video done. I'm going to go out and back here. I've got a new little poo-poo gun I want to shoot, and we're going to try it out. And I'm anxious to throw some bullets down range and see how well it does. So you guys get out there and have some fun. Enjoy life. This is the warmest December I can remember. Today. I hate to date my videos, but it's Christmas Eve. And it's getting up to 59 here in Iowa. Unbelievable. You got to get out there and throw some bullets down range, or do a little something else outside today. Get some vitamin D absorbed into your skin. Anyway, this is Michael saying, if it ain't broke, fix it till it is. And I'm out. Boom, shakalaka.